Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Your Next 50, where we invite you to play bigger, to be intentional, and to conquer those limiting stories and beliefs that are holding you back from having the life, the abundant life that you desire. I am Sylvia.
And I am Jenny. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to share with you today some of our experiences from a very sort of milestone kind of thing we did this week, Sylvia. What did we do?
Well, Jenny, we started this podcast, and if you've been listening, you will notice that there are almost 50 episodes out there. When you're listening to this, there will already have been 50 episodes. So we started this in June 2020 at the beginning of pandemic, and we never were able to get together to take pictures of ourselves for branding, which, you know me, a little bit of my perfectionist issues come out there. And I was like, we need pictures, we need pictures. And it's just becoming, it was becoming glaring as we're pitching ourselves to other people and getting on other people's podcasts. They were like, well, do you have a picture of the two of you together? And we're like, no, we don't.
Let's be clear, Sylvia. We had pictures when we were 20 years old, but all the pictures had beer bottles or wine glasses in them, which we didn't really think was a good, professional photo. So we had the chance last Saturday to work with a professional photographer, and people. Well, the photos are fantastic. You're going to start seeing more of them. But, this was a trigger, this idea of getting behind a camera and having photos taken of ourselves. So we're kind of hoping to unpack that today with the topic of why women don't like taking pictures of themselves. So
it's a thing. It is really a thing. And as a visibility coach, I'll tell you, I spoke with someone yesterday on a call, and two people actually yesterday, and they both said, I get stuck. I can't put myself out there. And part of it are the visuals as well, right? And how many, moms that we know are always behind the camera and never in front of it. And there's something there. And it goes deeper than just, oh, I don't like the way I look. It's going deeper. And I think those triggers for me came up in this process. I mean, so what we're going to talk about is the prep of it all, because we really made this an event, and it doesn't always have to be this way, but we really wanted to make it an event, an experience together. We hadn't seen each other in person for a long time, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And then the day of, and let's be honest, it was 40 degrees here. We took them in Montreal. It was 40 degrees, and we were supposed to be wearing fall clothes. It was hot.
Oh my gosh, I had a black blazer, just for context, people. I'm wearing a black blazer. It was dripping hot. It's just been crazy here in Canada the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
And then we got the pictures this week, and what triggers came up there. And very interesting things. And it might, you're going to notice it might go a little deep. It might go deep, because I think pictures, we see ourselves, and let's be honest, I see you differently than you see yourself.
Well, that was really interesting. I mean, not to jump ahead to the photos, but I was taking little snapshots when Sylvia was having her pictures taken, and I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing, da, 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 da. And I can see all this beautifulness that she represents to me. And yet when I look at my own photos, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. So we're going to talk about that. But I think to start at the beginning, Sylvia, I think it's important how we approach this. We both knew that this would be kind of a milestone event, being, in the age that we are, the clothes that we wear are different than when we were 25, 30 years old. And no, I don't wear heels anymore. That's just one of the lines in the sand. And so also two women on a photograph, how do you make that all work, colors and whatnot? So we decided to work with a stylist, and it was really interesting for me to work with someone. And she started where she started was, how do you want to feel? What emotions do you want to feel when you put these clothes on? I love that part. How about you, Sylvia?
Yeah, and this was not just an exercise. I mean, the premise was the photo shoot, so getting 3 outfits for the photo shoot, but it was also moving into this, new chapter of our lives that we talk about here on the podcast. How do we look and feel, but also how do we want others to perceive us? And that for me was the not a trigger, but a very interesting a question to contemplate. And yeah, I had worked many, many, many years ago with a stylist and really got clothes that did not represent me back then. And I wore them only a few times and I'm like, oh my God, a dress. Like, why did I buy a dress? I'm never going to wear this. So working with Haley Verity, let's shout out to Haley.
Shout out to Haley.
We've known Haley for a long time, and she's just it was a wonderful experience. Triggering for me, Jenny. We've done an episode, a couple of branding episodes, and there was one with Erin. One of the episodes with Erin, and we talked about clothes, and that episode for me back then was triggering. So this brought up some triggers because I know I needed to shop after a pandemic year. I'll be honest, I hadn't bought anything in over a year and a half, and the clothes that I was wearing no longer suited my body. They'd been worn so many times, so I was almost starting from scratch. So Haley took me through my wardrobe. And I was like, well, I've got this and I've got this and this. She goes, no, let's just start like fresh, like a blank piece of paper. And we found some things. We found a top, and I said, look, I buy stuff and I think it looks good and it doesn't. And she says, put it on. So I put it on, and it's all on Zoom. And I said, look, it makes me look like a tent. I think I'm like 5'10" and 110 pounds and I can wear these flowy things. And I'm like, I'm only 5'2", people, not even. And far from 110. And she said, Sylvia, tuck it in.
Oh yeah.
Tuck the top in. And oh my gosh, what a difference. I had never before tucked things in. Yeah. And just even that was so eye-opening. So that was my little, but it was triggering all the shopping, and not that we needed much. We didn't need much, but I was going from far. Like I needed some clothes.
I think so. That was a takeaway. Anybody listening, tuck in your shirts, people. This is like an aha. And, I think for me, it tied back to investing in myself. Like it's been a while since I've dug around in my closet and looked at what I had and made an intention for how I want people to see me. I'm so more often like drinking my coffee, eating my breakfast, chasing either a kid to school or whatnot. And, thinking about how I want to show up. And it's interesting, both of us today if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that Sylvia and I both put earrings on. We both chose a top. I put a little bit of makeup on this morning. So the impact is already starting to show up in our lives, because when we invest in ourselves, others see that we're investing in ourselves and that we value our worth. And it triggers this whole conversation about boundaries and expectations that we will continue to unpack, I'm sure, Sylvia.
Well, the energy when you get dressed up, and not dressed up to the nines. Like I've got sandals and a small skirt and a shirtless sleeve here. It's very warm. But just being intentional, it makes me feel great. And that, I think, comes through when we're talking to people, even on a Zoom call, right? Yeah. Even on Zoom and in person. So it's that energy, it's that vibe. How do we want to feel? And then that comes back to how do people perceive us then? Yeah. And that comes to a question we chatted about seeing other women who are really put together.
Yeah, and I am really uncomfortable with this because I am working through this myself, and I'm gonna own. This is kind of raw, that I had a lot of judgment about women who were well put together, and I think the assumptions came from if they were really well put together, then there was a lack somewhere else, and I'm letting that core belief go, Sylvia. I'm saying that here live on the podcast because I think that's a really judgy piece of being a woman. And if I'm going to show up in this space to uplift others, I gotta let that go. Good for you. Good on you for spending money on yourself. Good on you for getting your nails done. Good on you for choosing to show up the way you want to be perceived.
And I think this is the premise of the whole show today, because it comes down to, if we are judging other women by how they look, we don't even know some of them. And it's a trigger that's popping up for us, right? When we have visceral reactions to other people, it has nothing to do with that other person. Nope. It has everything to do with us. So when
repeat it.
Yeah, right.
Say it.
when we have visceral triggers when looking at someone or
Yeah.
reacting, if we're reacting, to someone else, it has nothing to do with that other person.
No.
It has everything to do with you or me.
Mhm.
And it comes down, we're judging ourselves.
That's right.
There is a sense
A
of
lack.
lack that we have, that perhaps, what came up for me and looking at someone online was, I wouldn't belong in her group.
Ooh.
I'm not well put together like that. And that is just assumptions. And that is just, but it comes down to self-worth, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And that belonging, remember, that's a core human need, right? We crave belonging. That's what the human species, how it survived all these times. And I think about connection and understanding. It's amazing when you get to know some of these amazing women who happen to be put together. Sure, some of them are not your type of people, but there's lots of them that are. And so let's let go of those assumptions, and let's remember to lift each other up as women. Let's not make the judgment so front and center, and let's keep our minds open, because when our minds are open, there are possibilities there. So I'm going to own that one, and I'm taking it with me, Sylvia. That was a big aha for me. Sure.
In the prep, definitely it was a aha moment.
So can I tell you about my favorite moment of the morning? Because now we got our makeup done and we got our hair done. So I'm sitting there getting my makeup done, and I turn around and this woman comes to my right. And my first thought is it's Marilyn Monroe. Because Sylvia's got her hair curled. This beautiful golden hair. And immediately it was this power emanating from you. I don't know if I've told you this, but it was like, wow, like she's taken on the world. And there was this energy coming out of you with that beautiful blonde curly hair. So it just goes to show you, right? That you were living the dream. You were feeling
I think
it.
so, it to be pampered like that. And I was sitting in the makeup chair thinking, I haven't been to many weddings in my life. And where you go and get all pampered up. There haven't been, I don't know why. I live here in Quebec and not many people get married, but not enough events like that I do wear makeup myself. So I love that aspect to it. And just having someone else take care of you and getting the hair done. And and you walk straighter, you walk taller. I felt amazing. And again, that energy that just emanates. And same with you. Your daughter was with us, and just the look in her eyes when she would give us the thumbs up. I was like, we're doing something good if a 17-year-old likes how we look.
And that idea of doing it together, I think that's the other thing. This is what this whole podcast is about, is Sylvia and I, a long time friendship, coming together to sort of unpack and share some of these stories, to bring things out into the light, so we can all live our best lives and sort of release ourselves from our stories that sometimes hold us back. And it was very special to me to do that with a girlfriend that's known me since I was 18 years old, and has lived through all those wrinkles and all those different parts of me over the years.
Well, I was looking at your daughter, and we realized that we were only a year older than she was, sitting there watching us. And I'm like, oh my God, we were so young. And now, you're not 50 yet, but I turned 50 this past year, and share my reflections in another episode about that. But just to watch her, and that, I remember Jenny being that age and being so judgmental of myself back then. And, I was probably the thinnest I would ever be back then, and then the less wrinkly, and, just when you're in that stage of life, and it saddens me to think how many hours I wasted worrying and looking in the mirror, and even all the way up until now, we still do it. I don't do it as much because I've really spent a lot of time on self-love and loving myself. Like Haley, our stylist, said, she goes, your body is never going to be the way it was when you were 17. Live with it. Own it. It's beautiful. And I'm like, yes.
And think of the gifts that our body has given us. So one thing we used to call it, my firstborn's name is Emma. So my Emma pouch, right, is this little pouch on my belly. But the beautiful part of having that pouch is that I have 2 beautiful children from it, and to embrace that and be proud of that. And I was noticing too with my daughter there, Wow, Jenny, watch your language. Folks on listening to this call, notice what you're saying about your body and how it ties to your self-worth, and just be mindful of that, because the stuff that gets reinforced perpetuates. So if you continually perpetuate the things you're unhappy with about your body, you continue to be unhappy. And it's just as easy to focus on the things that you like. Even though for many women, it was uncomfortable for me to say, hey, I really like my arms. I worked hard on my arms and I like my arms. There's other parts of my body that I'd rather not share on a podcast here, Sylvia, just saying. But
well, I think let's just say we both were focused during the photo shoots, during my prep time, about tucking a shirt in. It's all about the middle. Yeah. And ladies, I mean, if you're listening to this and you probably resonate, it's the middle. I like my toned legs. I do lots of walking and sports, and my legs are really toned. I like my upper, if you're in the upper part, my face, I like that. In pictures, I'm photogenic, and it was taking I was very self-conscious that day when the photographer was there taking pictures of my full body. And I went into the shoot and I actually said to her, I said, I am really self-conscious about my middle. So if you see it, tell me and I'll fix my top and whatnot. And I was like, oh, no, don't focus on that. Let's not focus. But then I heard you say the same thing. Oh, I don't like my middle. And I'm like, okay, what's this? Wasted energy, and
we should talk about
unnecessary.
Our boobs. Let's talk about our boobs instead, right? Something else in our middle, or our butts or something. Are we allowed to say that on radio?
Well, I don't know. My boobs may be down to the middle now, but.
All right. So
it was a fun day. It was really a fun day, and trying out. I did feel like a model, and I felt also that I would not want to be a model professionally, to always focus on that. I guess, they must love it, but it was so fun. And I think, that takeaway, doing that with you, Jenny, making it a whole day and an experience, that really, and we had the photographer who was very, just warm and welcoming, and right from the get-go, where she just was able to make us smile and make us laugh and like a friend.
And she went with us. We kind of went into this with a really open mind, and there's some really silly, fun photos. You get to see some of them. She kind of traveled with us, and was the unique thing of being a photographer is prompting, but also staying out of the way, and I think in letting people experience. So, I mean, my big takeaway for any of you that are listening, haven't had professional headshots done lately, go for it. Don't just do it half-assed. Don't say, oh, I'll just get my hair blown out. Go and get the makeup. Go get the hair. Invest in yourself. You are worth it. And you're going to feel so good with having that picture out there to share in your professional world, whether you're an entrepreneur or a professional fundraiser, or you're, an executive working in a company. People are making decisions based on what you look like and based on how you invest in yourself. That's really my key.
And it's not how you look like, but how you present yourself.
Oh, good.
Because it's not our looks, right?
Right.
I mean, I know that happens a lot in the world, but I would like how we present ourselves. It's like that first handshake. I always can tell a lot about someone with that first handshake, but it's true. A headshot can, and that was it. Like, are you warm? Are you welcoming? And the photos, you want them to look like you. You don't want to look at them and say, that's not like, there are some pics that we took that at the hairdresser place that the makeup artist took. They don't look like me at all. It was really weird. Just the way my head was, the way she took the photos. I don't recognize myself at all. It's like someone totally different. And I probably won't use those because I was like, it doesn't look like me. But you want your pictures, so if you're not one who puts a lot of big makeup on, well, don't do that in your make. Like, she'll do natural makeup for you. If you're not someone who puts bright red lipstick, well, don't get that done either, unless you want to. I said I want to go back now and do some evening shots. I think Jenny, some of us in some fancy gowns with the dark eye, smoky eyeshadow. I was like, oh, this can be fun, it got me thinking like all the different things we could do with it.
So if this is a show called Why Women Don't Like Taking Pictures of Themselves, I think the conclusion is that they remind us of all the things we're unhappy about in our bodies or in ourselves. And the flip side of that is, Love taking pictures of yourself. Embrace where you're at and who you are, and focus on the positive parts, the parts that you do enjoy. And that investment in yourself is always money well spent.
That is so, so true.
Mhm.
Because we got our pictures back this week. And for sure, when you get them done, they'll send you a whole bunch. And you may not like all of the ones that you see. And what Jenny and I did was went right to the ones that we didn't like.
That's right.
Those are the first ones. Rather than just be objective about it, it was like, oh, look at me in this one. Look at me. Like, that was me anyway about
It's like it's socially acceptable to do that. It was like,
yeah.
I was noticing how that was so more natural to me to complain about the parts than to look at the ones that I really did like. But
yes,
you're so
because
right.
then I was like, oh no, Jenny, there's so many good ones of you. Look at this one and look at this one. And but then you're like, no, but look at this one. I'm like, yeah, but that one we just won't take. And that was like me. There were some poses that I was doing that I didn't feel that they were flattering. So I won't take those ones, but there are lots that I really did like that, perhaps not full body, but there are some full body too. And it got me thinking, we blame it on ourselves, but sometimes it's just a bad picture.
Well, this was a big thing you said to me. You said, it's not that I don't like me, it's I don't like the photo. And let's be sure to articulate that, guys. It's not that it's me that you don't like or myself that I don't like. It's just that particular
just a bad picture. And these women who are on Instagram all the time, they know exactly which side of their face that looks good. So they always go that way. They just get to know what looks good and what poses to do. We're not professional Instagrammers, Jenny, so we might not know that so much. But after this, I'll definitely know, like, oh no, I prefer much, a full body shots. The camera has to be in front of me, not to the side where I feel very wide, or and you were saying, Sylvia, I don't see that in the pictures, but I see it myself. And I want to choose pictures that I feel good in, right?
Well, I think she also said, if you're listening, that we should do another photo shoot, right? Because we want to get better at this. So we can go and get our makeup done again and our hair done. Like, sign me up. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
That's great.
But, so throughout the whole thing, I mean, these triggers did pop up. And I think it's coming back to look at it very objectively and having someone else highlight. I think, the experience of having you there is that highlighting different things that I perhaps wouldn't see if you weren't looking or you weren't there with me, right?
That's right, Marilyn. Marilyn, I feel very clear about that. So I want to finish this takeaways, a couple things. Number one is we can't separate our bodies from ourselves. If we love one, we have to love it all. We have to find a way to love it all. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's what you think, right? So we look so often for external validation rather than just being happy with where we are from the inside. I know that's a work in progress. It's a work in progress for me, but I am striving for it. And at the end of the day, it's just a picture. It's just a picture.
And you know what? I think of, if I look at pictures of my grandmother and of my mom when she was young, and even now, my pictures of her now, she had her 75th birthday last week. And I took this gorgeous picture with my phone. And I was like, look at that energy. She's so beautiful. Is she, again, tall and thin? No, it has nothing to do with it. But, when people will see those pictures, and especially I'm talking to you who have children, they love you no matter how many, whatever you look like. They don't see that. They will see that energy and they want to see you in pictures.
Well, that's the one, is like, make sure those selfies have you in it. Don't just have pictures of the kids, but get yourself in there. Get someone else to take the picture so that you can be in the photo. How often, Sylvia, do we, have tons of pictures, at least of our firstborn? I think by our second and thirdborn, we don't have half as many pictures. We're too busy. But get in front of that camera and enjoy and revel in that. I think that's our takeaway.
Yeah. And that self-love piece. It's always a work in progress. I think as we go through life's transitions and different, phases in our life, and it really comes back down to it. If you are finding yourself resisting being in pictures, the question I ask you is, think of, dig deeper, and you are beautiful no matter what you look like. And it's really what's inside that counts. So this was a great exercise for us, Jenny. You are all going to see some of these pictures on the podcast art, in our social media. We are on Facebook and on Instagram at Your Next 50.
Yeah.
And
Can we talk about next week?
Yes, talk about next week.
I want to talk about next week because this is one of my game changers. We're doing a couple of book profiles the next couple of weeks, and we are bringing you Cassandra Speaks, which is a sort of milestone book by Elizabeth Lesser. It talks about the idea that the world, if women were the historians of our history, how would things be different? So it uses the example of Cassandra, which is a Greek mythology, but there's a bunch of other sort of stories, and just sort of living in a world of patriarchy or male lens, how it makes us show up and feel as women. And for me, the big aha was, that's why that feels like that. It's not me. It's the way the society was constructed. So for me, this was a groundbreaking book. I know you listened to it on audio, correct?
It was an amazing listen, and it's an amazing book. I listened to it on Audible. I think I'm going to go buy it now because that's just one that has to be on the shelves and reread. Yes, all history books have been, have been passed down, and the stories have been passed down, starting from the Bible, even before, all from men. And, how would everything be different if they had been written by women? Very interesting. So I can't wait to delve into that. And it's directly related to the work Jenny and I do with women and here on the podcast about using our voices. And when our voices are muted by others, that is not self-serving at all.
Yeah. Or I'm going to extend that and say, when the structures are built by other people, right, by men, when the structures are built by men, we end up accommodating to fit in rather than using our natural voices. So as you can tell, we're going to go crazy wild into that. We also have, every spring and fall, we host a Your Next 50 workshop, and there is one coming up in September 23rd. If you're listening to this, you are most welcome to join us. It is an absolutely fantastic workshop. It's about 2.5 hours. We dive into all sorts of different areas of your life. It's incredibly uplifting, and we keep it to 50 women because we'd really like to get to know each and every one. And there's a special bonus if you can register by the end of August. I will be offering a free money archetype assessment to the first 10 people registered. So we're already in through quite a bit of registration. Hop on, and you can find it at Eventbrite. And if you Google Your Next 50 workshop, you'll find it.
It's wonderful. Everyone, have a wonderful week. We'll catch you next week. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the summer.
And take pictures of yourselves.
And take pictures of yourselves.
Tag us, Your Next 50. Let's see if we can get some photos going.
That would be great.
At Your Next 50 podcast. That'd be awesome.
Wonderful. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.